everybody, welcome back to the show. Now the teams in the second group think they have what it takes to win. Let's see what earning a spot in the League of Legends Season 3 Championship Series means to them.
Qualifying for Season 3, to me personally, it would mean everything.
We get a future.
Everybody loves the game, you know, and just being able to get paid to play it, that's pretty cool, you know. I think anybody would want that.
What little kid doesn't want to be paid to play video games?
Ever since I was a kid, I used to dream about being able to play successfully as a professional gamer.
I've never really been in an opportunity like this before.
I took 2 years off of college, try and go pro. Told my parents. They think I'm still doing college stuff right now, so it's a nice little surprise for them.
It would just feel really good, to just be able to make it to Season 3.
I mean, that's going to determine what I do for the rest of my life, possibly. If I make it in esports, who knows?
Right now, this is the closest I will be to being an actual professional gamer.
I can't say that I ever thought I would actually get to this point. You know, being one of the people to get invited to Riot Studios to play League of Legends competitively, to me that's amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Meet Playground versus DirtNap Gaming here for your League of Legends North American qualifiers, where this week 5 teams will make themselves legends in this league.
I didn't even expect that. I'm sorry. I'm like taken aback by the amazing puns. We had it with our cheesy food puns the first time. Now they're legends in the league.
Yeah.
Riv, you slay me. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, we've got 2 great teams here. Both these guys have won their first round matches in their groups. This game means a quarterfinal spot. This game means you're gonna be one of those top 8. You're going for that top 5 from there. And the thing is, I can't really predict it here, right? Both these teams have done very well for themselves. DirtNap Gaming came in and said they felt very confident. Meet Playground the exact same.
Well, it's true, you said it before the break. This is that group that's so close that nobody can call, that nobody's really said anything about because we just don't know. It's a lot of players that have come, as we said, from Legion, from other teams that have had LAN experience, but a lot of these teams were created in the past few weeks. Yeah. So, you know, they're pulling out all the stops. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting, of course, as well, because, you know, you said these guys have LAN experience. Some of them are new.
Right.
It is really most of these teams' first time doing something huge and major, right? Probably, he just said in the interview, you know, this is the closest I've ever been to, being an actual pro gamer. I'm going to be in the same league as dudes like CLG and TSM and that whole crew. I mean, this is really, really big for these guys. And they've got to come prepared with all kinds of different strategies. You know, as an anecdote, Meet Playground, they won their first match with an area of effect, sort of press R composition.
Yeah.
But that's what DirtNap Gaming just beat.
Yes.
They got to bring out something else.
Yeah, a slight change in the composition, and Olaf for Vladimir, and we were kind of thinking, you know, that extra AoE from Vladimir, the 12% damage of Female Plague, was the factor to the Olaf, but we all know Olaf is such a formidable champion right now in the game, so we'll have to see if these champions again come into the fruition of these AoE compositions and which one grabs the upper hand. So after these games, we are going to see two wins, 2 losses. 2 losses send you home, but the winner of this moves on to day 2 to face off to the second place of another group.
Exactly. You can see the DirtNap Gaming squad on your screen getting set up. They're here at the Riot Studio here in LA, and I'm wondering what their nerves are like. You know, during the first series, I was up with Kobe and I asked him, you know, what his experience was like. You know, playing for CLG, a bunch of LANs, bunch of online stuff. It's sort of, you get more accustomed to it over time as you do more and more of these events. And the first time I started casting, the very first thing I did online, I sat there for 10 minutes waiting to hit record because I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I'm ready to start actually commentating things. And the exact same thing here as well, where it's the most important tournament in these guys' lives. And honestly, each individual game progressively becomes even more the most important game they've yet played, right? A win here for Meet Playground or DirtNap Gaming, they're in the top 8.
Right.
They're in the quarterfinals. 5 of 8 of those are making it onto Season 3. Those are good odds. You really want to be in those quarterfinals. You know, if you lose, okay, you got one more chance, but this is, you're on the cusp right here. This is the most important game you've literally ever played of League of Legends.
Yeah, so much of your life has been put on hold for right now, for the entire game to come down to this. College careers are being put on the line. Parents don't even know that people are here and probably figure their children in their dorm. It's that poster. It's like what I'm doing, what my parents think I'm doing, you know?
What I think I'm doing, what my parents
think. And they're here right now, Riot Studio. We're making it happen. League of Legends Season 3 is a real thing, and these kids are trying to make a name for themselves. And the best part about it is it's going to cycle. It's going to keep going. We have more teams to come in 10 weeks later possibly, and these guys have to fight for their spot again. So it's just not sugar and candy canes once you get in.
No, you've got to fight for your spots completely. And these teams, they have to grab substitutes as well,
Yeah.
so that they can make sure they field a team for competition every week. And these teams, it's up to them to be able to say, hey, I think our sub's actually outperforming our other players. Curse, for example, they had picked up Rux and they ran him in IPL 5, but they're back here with Elements here, saying Rux is back to sub, Elements you're back on. And these teams have to be able to realize who's playing, who's not. Epic, they brought West Rice up instead of Wings of Death, and unfortunately,
Right.
I think West Rice had a very good tournament, but it didn't quite work out for them.
Yeah.
Again, the teams are getting set up. We'll have the game going on underway very soon, but the Curse video got put up just yesterday.
Yeah.
And Liquid 112, the manager, he said, if we don't make it, we might have to make some roster changes.
Yeah, if Curse doesn't qualify themselves, the roster they have now, that video states there will be a Season 3 Curse. So that's how it's going to happen. That's why everybody in the video, you saw their responses, their answers to losing were, it's not something we thought about.
No, you can't.
It's not going to happen.
And it's not even worth putting in your mind. As a competitor, you can't. Well, you're preparing for a tournament.
Right.
You don't think about the contingency plan. You think, you dream big. You think confidently. You can't go into this being emo. You can't think about it being down on yourself. The Good Game University players, especially Nintendo X, he was talking to me about what that team was like when they first formed. Again, a lot of those members really, really young people in general, and of course a young team. And he said, one of our biggest enemies was ourselves, where if we lost a game, we got really down on ourselves. We harped on the mistakes, and it made us just worse from then on every single time. And he said, he got kicked off the team for like 2 weeks and then rejoined. And he said over those 2 weeks, he's like, I matured. Like, I'm a more mature person. I'm a more mature player. Like, I can compete on the stage again. And we saw that from GGU. They lost to Fear, and they just regrouped, and they had a very dominating final game against Team Tower Dive TV. And you're seeing these guys, be able to come back from defeats. And so right here, one of these teams is going to have to lose this game. Either Meat Playground or Dirt Nap is going to have to lose here. Yes, it's going to happen. Even if it's a 7-hour game, even if it
That's never
continues
happened
next
before.
Wednesday,
It's never
and
happened.
we're here filling time for half the day.
I don't know what you mean.
Someone has to lose at the end. And whichever team that is needs to bounce back and say, nuh-uh, we're going to push on forward.
Well, it's something what we've seen coming up in a lot of tournaments. It's a lot of tournaments. It's a little bit nicer in the way that it's not a pure single elimination that we've seen from the North American region or the qualifiers and whatnot, But they have 2 games.
Yeah.
And GGU lost the first one, but then we saw the awesome composition Shed Katarina, AoE stop. Once Katarina gets in there, it's locked down, it's dead. They just went on it full time, and they brought that out the second game. They said, you know what? It's hairy. We're 1-1. We need to make that to 2 wins instead of 2 losses. Yeah. So that second game is giving them time to, kind of go through the first one and watch the first few pitches. Strike, whatever we lost, we'll get the second one, and that's really how they played it. And that's almost what we saw Falafel do. That was there was still, another engagement to happen there. Maybe a few more engagements, maybe a 15-minute comeback, but they just said, you know what? We saw the first few strikes. We'll get it at next bat.
Yeah, of course, and that is nice just to have that extra little safety net that, yes, they did lose to one of the teams. And again, when you pick 2 teams out of a group of 4, you do want to at least play more than one of the other teams to get through that one. So certainly Meat Playground looked the strongest of their first round victories. I think they had the most dominating performance. But that that could go a couple different ways. That could be because Meat Playground is so above everyone else that you can say, look, as Falafel Gaming, we lost to the favorites of the group, but we can always come back and ride on through, which is an absolute possibility here. Tower Dive TV almost did that. They had a pretty close game against Good Game University. But the same can be said on the other side. Dirt Nap Gaming can realize, we had a really close game, but these guys do know each other. These guys in the scene, they've all played each other before. They know the players. They know their tendencies. They've done their research. And they know how to win. They've done it before. They've gotten here so far by winning games, by winning matches, going through tournament brackets, winning ladder matches. It's going to be fine.
So we're waiting for, actually, Freak, I'll even let you say this one because you know what it's all about.
So I'm left-handed, and the issue actually in front of us here.
Sorry, by the way.
No, hey.
I'm just kidding.
Being left-handed is awesome. I don't know what you're talking about, but you just saw Dirt Nap Gaming on your screen. The difficulty that he's having is being left-handed. We use the mouse on our left hand. I know. I'm like dumbing it down way too hard. Like shockingly, with our left hand.
Giving him a riv. Don't.
Yeah. we're counter jungling in our own jungle. No, sorry. So anyway, but the setup, because like 95% of people use computers with the right hand on the mouse, he's got to move the stuff around, and apparently the cords are really tight, and he can't get the mouse on the right side. And so we're trying to get stuff jiggered around and get it set up that he can actually play comfortably. Which, interesting enough, is actually, whoa, there's the mouse. It's probably not actually the guy.
That's right-handed.
Right-handed. I was close. But actually, it's something you've talked to or spoken about before, of what it's like to play on a LAN versus playing at home.
And I was almost about to poke you about that, because you yourself, playing professional Warcraft 3 back in the day, traveling to these instances face to face, in that instance it's one-on-one, so you're like directly in those times they kind of put the computers face directly at each other.
They'd be like right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is that like, especially these guys we just mentioned a few minutes ago coming together a few weeks ago?
Well, it's interesting because, so first of all, you bring all your gear. Like,
all yours.
very first thing
Maybe
you
some
do,
doubles.
Yeah. You bring your own mouse, your own keyboard, your own headset. Like, you bring that stuff, and you make sure. Unfortunately, Arthlon apparently forgot his own mouse, so that's actually unfortunate.
Still did well.
Yeah, still did great, but he's the mid lane player for me, Playground. But so you do that, but I guess it's interesting playing a one-on-one sport versus a 5-on-5 sport.
For sure.
Because, like, you play a sort of a dueling game competitively, and you're just kind of in your head, right? And everyone's kind of really quiet, and, like, if you win, you're like, okay, yes, right? And you can just sort of, like, do that,
claps,
like, the one clap, like, really loud, everyone like, looks to you, and that happens. But like a 5-on-5, like, you're talking all the time, and sort of as a habit, you're louder.
Yes.
You're yelling more.
As we saw, who was it? They were saying Zuna was absolutely so loud in the first fight. Muffin was laughing so hard. He's like, I'm glad I was playing Nunu, because I had to take my hands off the keyboard. Like, Zuna just went off the charts, so everybody could hear him in the studio. And we were just like, are they winning that one? What just happened? It was intense. So yeah, you get louder. There's way more intensity, and you're just, your jitters are there. So you just shake them off. You're trying to shake them off. You're trying to get pumped.
And whatever you can do to make that happen, whether it's just like focusing, whether it's like putting your favorite song on and just like jamming to it, like I got some metal going on, let's do this, like whatever it is, you got to find a way to do it. Kobe24, again, in my cast with him, he talked about his leg just like shaking on the table the entire time. Actually, my leg is behind the table. You can't see it, but it's jumping up and down. And shouts were like smacking him, saying, "Stop it! You're messing with my keyboard."
They say that Froggen does that at the playoff finals, the spinning stages. They're like, don't walk on these too hard. And then Crepo and Snoopy would both be like, "Froggen, you need to chill, man. The whole stage is shaking. Like, we're playing on right now. Calm down. We know you're doing good in mid."
Yeah. So. And it's a thing you like really have to get used to, because if your hands are cold, if your keyboard's not in the right spot, like I don't know if people don't believe it the first time, or it's just hard to get used to, but like you do not play the same on LAN as you do at home. It is a different experience.
Yeah, and people are going to realize that, especially these teams. One thing that I remember in their interviews, the interviewer kept being, almost amazed about, is that Curse was so damn calm throughout everything they did. Any question, calm, cool, collected. The answer came out. There was a little bit after to bolster it, and they knew exactly what they wanted to say. And things like that, teams know will be used against them. Definitively, that experience, that calmness is going to just take them out of their comfort zone. So people like Curse are going to use that to an advantage big time.
I'm wondering, actually, if there are teams whose like game plan is to psych people out in person.
For sure, Marn.
Just Marn runs around. And
Marn will do it on any social media and then meet you in person and then do it.
Yeah, but like I'm curious, right? Like, right. Curse coming in so calm, like I can get that is disconcerting.
For sure.
Right? You come in and they're just like, yeah, it's just business. Like, we're just gonna win. Like, whatever, right? And they don't show emotion. You're like, wait, what? Like,
Summoner's code, bro.
Summoner's code. Just win with grace, all that fun stuff. But I want to see a team whose like main gimmick is that they're like the best smack talkers and they just like psych people out. I want to see that. I want to see what that looks like, because I want to take lessons. Actually, I was at WCG USA 2008 or something, and I got eliminated. It's unfortunate. I didn't sleep enough. My roommate's fault. But
good scapegoat.
We had a smack talk competition.
Ooh.
We had a smack talk competition, and it was like all the guys playing like Gears of War, so they were like practiced.
Of course. I was actually going to mention Gears of War when you were saying smack talk, because of what I used to broadcast back in the day. But yeah, cool, you did.
Yeah, and so I didn't win. I thought mine was really
good. Against Gears of War dudes, that's like diamond smack talking.
Yeah, right. And it's shockingly not radio friendly, but we'll leave it there. But Smack talking competitions, they were fun to me. I want to see a team who's like good at that.
Yeah, they were. You had a show on HBO for 'em, remember that? The smack talking show who can go back and forth better. But to digress of randomness, back to these matches, we do have Dirtnap Gaming versus Meat Playground to come. Both teams qualifying through an IPL situation. IPL 5 for Meat Playground, Dirtnap Gaming, IPL 5 IPL qualifier.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
They find their ways through there.
Right, and so these guys have already shown that they have come through tournament brackets to get here.
Right.
I mean, certainly everyone who's at this tournament now has done so by competing against other highly ranked teams in great series. But the specific story here, right? Meat Playground. I mean, and they had like a tough freaking road to get here.
Yeah.
Their final qualifier match to get into IPL 5, 2-0 Invictus Gaming, who was the #2 spot from China in the World Finals. Like. That's a tough opponent, 2-0, no problem. And, people said, well, that was with Pobot, that was with Light Sludge. Well, they replaced them. They're still looking strong. But they got their spot overall because they're the highest placing North American team from IPL 5 that wasn't already in this tournament or in Season 3 itself. So, with Curse and CLG and whatnot out there, not a big deal. But on the other side, though, you had IPL and MLG both running online qualifiers. Just, play the tournament bracket, top spots, get it. And that's where these guys came from, Dirtnap.
So we see on the screen now, I believe this is Dirtnap, and he is wearing his hat. I can't tell specifically who that is right away. So many new faces. But he wears his spirit hoodie. I believe it's a bear to make him feel comfortable. So, Freak.
I think it's a wolf.
Is it? It could be either. I like bears. I'm going to go with bear.
That's fine. You're entitled to
the bear. And he's got a turtle. He's got everything there. So he's got a little bit of protection.
I'm a fan.
They know they can CLG their way through this if they need to. And they also have a little bit of bear, so they can TSM it and go aggressive.
Nice.
So really, they have both sides of the factor there, and his spirit hoodie keeps them safe.
I want one that has that's 4 different corners, and it's actually an Udyr spirit hoodie. I want an Udyr spirit hoodie. I want a turtle, tiger, phoenix, bear hoodie, hat thing.
And then if you're flying in a plane, you have a Triforce on top, and you can always see it.
Yes, that sounds great. I want that actually.
Coming soon in the Riot store.
Apparently, we're doing 4-color spirit hoodie. I think that's a good thing. So yes, these guys, and we talked about it, right? What can you do to bring yourself good luck or good fortune or calm your nerves when you get to a big LAN like this? When you get to a very important tournament, how can you make this as calm as possible? I know guys who actually do keyboard on lap.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, keyboard on lap, it's always in the exact same spot. It's impossible to screw up keyboard on lap.
During one of the MLGs, I think it's one of the teams that was playing or somebody that was subbing for someone, they're like, whoa, I usually play like this. My keyboard's on my lap, and this is up here. So yeah, that movement overall, you have a smaller mouse pad. It's a smaller area. Maybe you used to play FPS, and you're used to doing this. Everything changes. The atmosphere, you can hear, just so much noise around you at these events that the crowd is yelling and whatnot, and you have to get through that. Remember the Thundersticks at IPL? Some of the people loved it. Some of the people were like, "Whoa, this wasn't an experience that we've ever been in." But they happen, and you got to be ready for it.
I think that happened. I almost want to say it was 2 Meat Playground because I'm trying to remember the game, and I want to say it was Meat Playground Curse at IPL 4.
That sounds right.
And they were ahead by a gigantic margin, 10 kills and 12,000 gold, but couldn't close it out. I'm pretty sure I remember that was it was IPL 4 Meat Playground versus Curse, and now you got both these teams here again.
Yes.
They will not meet unless they both lose in the quarterfinals. Those groups will not match each other.
That's true.
But I don't know. There'd be a potential rematch at some point if that
break
was
out the
possible.
Thundersticks.
Yes, break out the Thundersticks. Have all the riders show up.
You've evolved them since now, so they won't be as loud.
Well, no, we'll just
they just throw lights everywhere now.
We'll just pump an audio mix of Thundersticks into their headphones.
That's perfect.
And then it'll feel like home.
I like it.
Yeah.
God, it's everywhere. Why don't they put us on the idea team too?
This is a great. And in fact, we should actually switch one of the music tracks on League of Legends to just Thundersticks. So randomly you'll be playing mid lane and just the track ends and just gigantic just loudness all the time, and you'll just feel so pumped up, man.
I'm already pumped up.
Thundersticks.
Yeah. So Dirtnap Gaming coming in. A lot of people know a bit about their team. A lot of people know a little bit. But a lot of people know a lot of it. Prolly, you have JD Wu. Prolly joining the team because he liked JD Wu's jungling. Yep. So there's another one of those kind of we know each other a little bit, but more the play style. So we're going to come in and make it work. We'll make it happen. Yep. You also have Chris. Everybody knows Chris for his Riven as well. Just overall powerful play. We just saw him on Shen also being a beast as well. So these guys have a lot to bring to the table, and they've played different positions as well.
Well, I want to actually point out the AD carry Echo. comment the dolphin, because we talked about the Spirit Hoodie and animals. I just keep going off topic. I don't know. I can't help but be trolly it all the time.
It's okay.
Elements actually refuses now to talk to me seriously because every time I see him, I troll him in some way, and he's like, I'm done talking with you seriously. But yeah, and then the support Prophet there on that roster.
Yep.
It's a good lineup, honestly. These guys are very, very good. You're seeing the players, again, mill back and forth. They're getting ready for this game. We shouldn't be too far from it. And actually, I got to feel like this almost amps your nerves even more at this point. You're ready to go. You just get out of the game. Both these teams a little bit colder.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the pause, that break that somebody puts in. And sometimes that happens in sports, you know?
Yeah.
You can even pull it in this when it has to kind of be, you have to be, okay, something broke, but if it didn't, that's a problem. So you might want to make sure something's broke first. You can't really just be like, hey, you know, we're not near each other. Let's call a timeout here and totally stop the Baron that they have, like kind of the mentality they have on.
Sure.
So you can see them kind of standing, talking behind each other. Right now, they're still discussing the match, using every second that they have, trying to keep warm there. You always know the players try to keep the area cool, and the computer's never heated up enough, so they're like, hand warmers, please.
But it's good to have those on hand.
Exactly.
Right? Just like, you gotta, like, I think like the key physical talent here for gaming is your finger dexterity in the first place. You know, for football, it's how fast you can run, catch a ball, etc. Or for the Europeans, football is how fast you can run, kick a ball, etc.
I actually just made a tweet recently that one of my favorite and/or best gaming peripherals is the pet sleeping under your computer. So you
just
can
keep you
warm
warmer?
your feet. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh.
The pet peripheral. You got to get one.
Get a dog.
Best late night gaming peripheral ever, especially on a cold day.
Live animal sleeping underneath. I have not had that experience, guys. For what it's worth, though, if you are tired of us talking about Spirit Hoodies and dolphins and pets, Stream B, the other stream, whatever you want to call it, that's got Jat and Demon on it. They are currently live with the other match, so if you do want to see League of Legends going on, feel free to check that one out. We'll be going live as soon as possible. Yeah, we're not redirecting the stream here ourselves.
If you
want to open up another tab, go for it. Of course, Rivington's manly beard kind of implores you to just laser focus in.
I should just troll you by the end of the week and
just chin strap it. Okay,
know,
meanwhile, I'm just going to like suddenly explode a real beard and I'll just fake you out. It'd be like the blind pick beardathon and I'll just counter.
That's not good. I've never played that game before.
The blind pick beardathon?
Yeah.
I'm like 2200 elo at that.
Yep.
I'm really good at blind pick beardathon.
Just gold, sorry.
This wins like every time. That's why my elo is so high.
So coming up with this game, this means somebody is 2. The brackets work, 2 win, 2 loss. Somebody gets the win out of this. Somebody's 1-1. It's up in the air, really. We also have the lower bracket playing, or the loser's bracket, the guys that are going for that elimination match, if you will. That's a big match. That's the one where if you haven't pulled out all the stops we were saying before, you need to. These are single elimination, but we've said you get that little bit of room to breathe. If you lose the first game, Falafel's using that to the fullest extent. They went quick surrender, and they're saying, we'll just go into that loser bracket match. We'll try to pull back out, and sometimes that could be the easier road that they find. They may face another team that they would rather face than if they went through the upper bracket, because sometimes you make a hard road for yourself, but you get the momentum. There's always something there that to plus or minus.
Exactly. And the thing is, we've actually seen upsets anyway, right? Like, you look at some of these matches and you realize, okay, you know, the heavy favorite, Meat Playground, you know, seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you kind of get an idea of how you think the group might play it. But we've already seen an upset in our first group of the day. Epic Gamer, again, the heavy crowd favorite, came through 2-0ing everybody in the online qualifier, but they couldn't stack up against, honestly, a team that everyone thought was going to be a walkover, which was Team Tower Dive TV. They're like, wow, Group B, that's like, or, you know, the group that had fear in it. You know, that's the group of death. You got 3 teams that are like, oh, really deserving of it. And you're like, well, make that 4 because, dude, these guys showed up. And so even the teams that are down there in the lower bracket, you cannot count them out whatsoever. They've put on a great showing. They're obviously phenomenal players. And, you know, it just kind of happens that in best of 1, anything can happen.
Yeah, it really can, especially in that group 3, that Curse group, that Brunch, Paul's Complexity. It's scary. It really is scary. There are known favorites that people are like 110% they're passing through. So it's got to be ridiculous to be in that group with those favorites, knowing that everybody's just like, good luck, dude.
Of course, but it's also cool because the underdogs do get a bit of an advantage. Everyone is coming in confident.
Yep.
Every sort of team that we've talked to and said, what are your chances here? I haven't heard anyone say any number lower than like 60%.
Right.
Like some understand they're underdogs and like, yeah, it's gonna be a rough road, but they're like, none of them are like, yeah, we're out. Like we shouldn't have even shown up today. Like no. They all know that they have what it takes to win this, and I do believe that all these teams are phenomenally skilled, and the advantage of being an underdog is it is much harder to research you. Like you look at a favorited team
That's
like
true.
Curse, like Fear, it is very easy to look up their matches, right?
Yeah.
They have even if you don't get it from their match history from online or on League of Legends, you go to YouTube or anything like that, you will see them play the best of the best over and over and over again. You can see what kind of invades they run, what kind of comps they look for,
Yeah.
what they pick and ban normally, and there's not that for you, right? If you're Dirtnap Gaming, if you're Falafel Gaming, there's not nearly that level of material there. They might know, oh, yes, we know a Zingy is really good at Amumu. We know Dr. Trevor is really good
Yeah.
at Rumble. And you got a couple of things like that. But outside of a couple of very favorited champions, you've pretty much got carte blanche to run whatever you want.
Yeah, one example that mirrors that perfectly is the Southeast Asian qualifiers,
Yeah.
the regionals there. Singapore Sentinels were a team that was practically unbeat throughout the season, and Saigon Jokers came and swept the tournament because they were somewhat of an unknown. Nobody knew anything. You can't do your homework, and they just pulled out all the stops. And that is a factor that can lead you to the victory, especially
Absolutely.
of a region.
Absolutely. When you can just kind of bring up these new things,
Yeah.
practice with other players, teams in secret, and these guys, it's very easy for them to practice with each other. It's very easy for them to say, oh, you're not in my group. We've got about a week. Let's go. Let's play some games, right? You already know other teams that are on your skill level. It's pretty easy to contact them. They're all online. Say, hey, we want some scrims. And these guys have been practicing as hard as possible for this event. I mean, this is a huge deal for these
Yep.
guys. The Season 3 qualifier spot is gigantic, right? We've got 14 teams left so far in this tournament. 5 of them are getting a spot in Season 3, and they're like, those are pretty good numbers. Those are good odds, and they would just dedicate their time to doing that. These guys can bring up something new, and I'm expecting a bunch of new stuff coming out from these.
Freak, I know the idea is there for them, but you have to wonder how much it's really set in, what they're really playing for. They know it's going to change their lives, but once something like that happens, it kind of takes a while to set in. So still, I think it's a lot of enjoyment for these players here. And you almost saw it in Epic, sorry to see them go, but it was. They came in and they were like, it's win or lose nothing. We just made the team. We're coming back. It'll be fun. It'll be great if we get it. But they were really crushed when they had to, kind of step aside. And these teams are going to have to realize that soon, and that pressure is bearing down very hard for these final 5 teams.
And it'll be interesting to see because some of them have focused on it so very hard, right? Some of them, this is their job. Again, you want to look at Curse, who's really the really big standout team coming into this tournament as the big favorite. But, that video came out about them yesterday where they're like, this is our job. This is what we do. Like, we can't even think about not winning.
No.
And you contrast that to a team like Epic, who, even though they kind of threw the team together, we're still crushed to lose it because this is such a gigantic opportunity. And some of these guys are in this sort of middle ground where they're prepared to give up their current trajectory in life and pursue this new one. Again, like Mega Zero from Marn, he's like, yeah, I'm going to school right now, and that's fine. But like, if I can do the pro gaming thing, I'll do it, right? And that's kind of the situation that I kind of like the most from the players, where they're not unemployed, right? If this doesn't go through for them, they're still okay, right? I want these guys to succeed, right? To the best of my knowledge from hanging out with them, they're all really great people. I like talking to them. They're really good dudes.
Very smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Carnegie Mellon, comp sci.
Yeah,
Come on.
Of course. these are really, really bright people. And then they're like, I'm really, really smart. Voyboy's trying to go and do pre-med, go be a doctor. And he's like, if this gaming doesn't work, then I'll go be a doctor. Oh no, right? Like, it's not the worst future in the world. Jeez. But yeah, it's nice to see them, at least be able to fall back on something if it doesn't work out.
Right.
But they're all like, I don't think I've heard a single guy be like, well, if we make it, I'll probably just still go to school. I don't think anyone's done that. Guys, though, the wait is over. Champion Select is here. It is time to get this underway. Dirtnap Gaming on blue, meet Playground on red.
All right, let's see what we got, Freak. We do know those picks to come out. The Kazakhstan most likely. Rumble's been a good one. Shen's going out. We have Chris going to play again, so we'll probably see the Riven on the ban list too. These guys, that's the little part of the known people on the team. It's really going to come down to what compositions they create as an unknown team. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, there's a top 4 of champions to kind of look at. Again, talking with X-Hazard from Meet Playground, he said there's 4 big guys. It's Mumu, Kha'Zix, Evelyn, and Nunu. Those are the 4 big champions that he expects to see in every single game this tournament, whether they're picked or banned. And you've got a couple of additions here because Twisted Fate just got brought down, and you've got to worry about Chris's Riven. So, and actually the mount ban there being an armor-based champion, that actually might be helping to enable the Riven pick there.
Yeah, that's definitely going to knock out a lot of initiation as well. We'll have to see what kind of comp they put, but I like that call on that for the Riven. We'll have to see what they do. There's the Kha'Zix as well. The Nidalee goes out.
But Evelyn is up, right?
Evelyn
So like
is
you've
up,
got,
right, as you pointed.
You've got a couple of really important picks there because you've got Riven, which is a really big important one. They're actually just going to go with the Olaf and not even care. So I don't know, Hazard with his kind of surprise there in the first place. I mean, Nunu and Evelyn are both up, and Arthlon, to my knowledge, plays everything. He just plays everything. We've seen him crush on Kha'Zix before. I can assume pretty well that he's going to be able to play Evelyn quite well himself. And there it is, Nunu and Evelyn. Those are going to be the options here. I'm expecting the lock-in, and there it is.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. I've really only seen Arthlon go for those AD casters in mid, that Nocturne, Zed coming in with also Kha'Zix, but banned out on that Kha'Zix. So they are going to still go for a burst assassination mid. We'll see what the comp comes out after that. That Olaf is going to help for a bit of initiation and fight control for DNG. We'll have to see what they can bring as well to a possible poke composition.
Well, they've got Sona at Misfortune available there. We saw them fight against such a composition.
Yeah.
You know, last time Meet Playground actually ran one themselves, an area of effect focused composition. You know, seeing that twice now in the tournament, it is a very good sort of team lineup. It's something we've seen actually quite a lot in Korea. They've run Kale a lot to actually make Misfortune not die in the team fight while channeling, or you'll see guys like Sona or Zyra set those up with the area of effect lockdown. You know, but actually this is looking much more like their previous lineup here. They actually had the mid Jace there from probably last time.
Yeah, that was really effective, especially for lane movement as well. Jace can push that lane with a shock blast and just change forms for free and head top or bottom so quickly, and it's really can catch a lane off guard.
It's going to be
Great
pretty good. You know, in poke comps, they are very, very good. Najin's Sword, I believe, runs a similar sort of poke comp where they run that mid Jace. It's a very good setup. It gives you a lot of options. I mean, it could be top Jace as well. You can run Olaf in the jungle. All
right, and a possible SAT question. MF is to Amumu as Caitlyn is to Nunu.
Yes, indeed, and the Caitlyn immediately locked in. It's a very, very good setup. And right off the bat, this says 2 things. One, your lane's going to be really, really hard to deal with. Dirtnap Gaming is going to have a bit of a rough time dealing with such a long-ranged AD carry, but it also means the game is on a bit of a clock. Nothing really out-damages Nunu Caitlyn late game.
Right.
And, you know, with guys like Nidalee dropped off the map as well, there's no other, like, attack speed buffs, major buffs for an AD carry, so outside of something like Janna Kog'Maw, you know, and of course they've got Sona here, so sure, like Sona Kog'Maw, I don't think they'd have a very good time in lane. They'd be similarly good late game, but it's still not the best thing.
So far, Dirtnap Gaming Freak has a bit of that poke comp. Evelyn's required to go in, Nunu, Cho'Gath required to go in, so they're kind of negating the fact that they're going to use that Caitlyn right now. They're able to keep their distance, we'll have to see what else they come up with.
Well, you know, honestly, I would kind of expect to see the poke still going through. Olaf's got the undertow. You've got sustain with Sona. I like the idea of going poke-based. Ezreal makes a lot of sense here. You know, you can either go counter initiation or hardcore initiation. Both kind of work out. Actually, Ian Graves, they did play him last time. I'm just kind of curious to see what they go for here. They're waiting for the last possible second to pick that last champion, and it's a Nocturne. The thing is, I paused for a second because it's normally jungle Nocturne, but
it could be
I've
Nocturne
seen
jungle.
Nocturne.
It could be Nocturne jungle. That is one of Prowly's mids.
Yeah. Okay. So
as well as Arthlon, so he may be trying to play it against.
They're pretty much not even swapping champion at this point. Then that whole 5-on-5 team. And it's a weird mix of champions. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. It's very physical damage heavy, which is fine. Black Cleaver is just great in general. But you're pretty much all in. Like you're poking until you go all in. That's pretty much what that's about. So, okay, last pick here for Meet Playground. They need a top laner or a jungler at this point. I don't know. It could really be either one. If they want a lane swap, which, I mean, they really could do here. Cho'Gath's a good 1v2, and they could just grab a jungler.
This is super AD. I'm really surprised they didn't go with a somewhat Katarina composition or a reset. I mean, the Kha'Zix is out, which would have been perfect for this. But like you said, they're all in. But once they're all in and they kill one person, it's slow focus to the next. They're all in to wait for the rest of the team to come. They have poke, right? So then they have to dive in. It seems like this composition is almost kind of kicking itself.
It's interesting because so there is no sustain here on this Meat Playground lineup. They get the long range damage out there. You can kind of long range damage from Graves. They're mostly relying on Prawley. And honestly, to be fair, the Jace versus Evelyn matchup is really good for Jace. It's
Right.
not
Yeah,
going
the
to be
matchup
easy.
itself. Yeah, I was looking at team fight.
Of course,
right.
no, of course. As far as team fight goes, you're kind of kicking yourself a little bit there. That's absolutely true. But any kind of a poke comp is a mid game comp, right? Which is like the biggest window they have before Caitlyn completes more than one big item. You know, Blood Boil's nice, but basically, you know, what I see this here for the blue team, for Dirtnap Gaming, is mid-game power.
Right.
You've got really good gank pressure. You've got a lot of burst from everyone on this lineup.
Explosion
Chris
at
on
6.
Olaf. Exactly. You have an explosion on 6, an explosion on 11. Olaf, Nocturne, Jace, Graves, Sona. They're all really good at taking someone down
That's a great
in
point.
like 2 seconds. And so anyone that they go for, that guy's probably going to drop unless it's like a farmed Cho'Gath. Meat Playground, they're like, okay, we're pretty good early on. Some of our lanes are a little bit weak, but late game, we're going to say Caitlyn. And just the word Caitlyn is enough. Like, that just kind of dictates what they're going to be able to do late game. Evelyn's going to scale pretty much infinitely. You know, percent of your max health area of effect damage on an ultimate is going to always be relevant no matter what happens at all times. And that's a very good place for them to be in. You've got quite a bit of early game pressure. Lee Sin, Cho'Gath. Lee Sin in the jungle. Cho'Gath is going to be the top laner here for X Hazard. And, you know, again, a new Caitlyn lane is just very, very strong. It's the mid game here where 20% of your health isn't different from any other ultimate in the game.
Right.
And that's where the kind of spike comes in from the other side.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in to Game 3 of Group 2 is the other game going on as well. Both are being played back-to-back, so make sure you get those on both of your screens if you're watching. Dirtnap Gaming versus Meat Playground. Meat Playground coming through 1-0, as well as Dirtnap Gaming as they face off here to get actually that 2-1. It's going to be big for Dirtnap Gaming if they can grab it. The 2-0 will be great momentum into the second day for Meat Playground.
Okay, let's see what these guys can do. Yeah, these teams looking for their second win of the day, man. This game, I mean, again, it just means the quarterfinal matchup. For those of you who didn't watch the extended pregame show, a win here means a spot in the top 8. This is huge for these guys. Dirtnap Gaming looking aggressive early on.
Cho forced out. Yeah, this is the first time we've really seen it. But like we said, the second game, teams feel a bit more comfortable, and they're going to do a little bit more. So instead of that Wraith Ward that we usually see, they're going to be putting it down at blue. That's
this is tricky.
early aggression here. It looks like they know they're going towards blue, so
Yeah.
they're going to wait for the comeback.
This is really, really tricky by DNG. This is a good gambit here. They obviously, like, and the word here is obviously. They obviously invade blue to make the team know they're going, and they turn back around to try to catch the other team doing this. This is the kind of thing that actually Epic Gamer said they wanted to do against GGU, which was, you know, let the invade come in and counteract based off of it. The Spirit Hoodie's on both sides, by the way. Just look at the player cams. You got the wolf, or the bear, if you say, and the chicken on the other. That's OP.
It's a certain kind of hat. It's not a chicken. But
What?
we'll say it's a chicken for now.
Oh, what is it?
I forgot what he called it.
Oh, it's okay. Meanwhile, though, Meat Playground, though, like full on, they're getting the free invade on blue, and Chris is about to spot them.
He is not going to be happy here. I don't think the Undertow actually saw it. He goes to grab his axe and finds the snowball from Lemon God.
He's
He'll
safe.
walk away from this one, yep. And it looks like he will lose a little bit more of his jungle, though. They will not have positioning to pull everybody out of lane to get this.
Yeah, looks like no one's really around. Probably is coming by, but they're still outnumbered completely.
So a slow push here, X Hazard waiting for his, and you can see they're kind of trying to bait that into a fight here. Graves going in with Nocturne. They are going to get the blue onto DNG's side, but here comes the invade. Cho'Gath, X Hazard does not see them coming up, and they go for the steal as well, so they kind of even each other out there.
Yeah, okay, so trading 1 for 1 is nice. Actually, Prawley had a very, very close attempt there. You know, Lee Sin thought he could outlast hit there with Resonating Strike. He was correct there, but, I mean, he very nearly got that stolen away by Prawley, and it would have been, like, the best opening ever for these guys.
So NK Inc. a little bit faster ahead now, has that red buff. Looks like he is actually going to go back for Wolves for the quicker attack on 3, and we may see him in lane quite fast. The swap coming in, Freak. We'll start with that. It's going to be Olaf versus Caitlyn Nunu, very strong on the poke. And it's going to be Cho'Gath versus Sona Graves.
So I actually really like this for Dirtnap Gaming overall. Now, both Olaf and Cho'Gath are good 1 vs 2 champions, but you're seeing Olaf completely not get pushed. He's last hitting okay with Undertow, but he's almost never going to lose his turret. You're seeing no pushing coming out at all from Meat Playground. Meanwhile, Graves Sona is all about the aggression. It's buckshot, it's, you know, chugging potions and just going for damage output. In fact, 4 crystalline flasks on that team. There's a lot of sustain there. They're going to keep shoving here, Dirtnap Gaming. They could get a pretty quick turret kill against X Hazard.
They have great pressure on this bottom lane, so rest of the map maybe thinking that's where Lee Sin's focus is going to be. We may see Nocturne head towards the top after this to help out Olaf. We just saw Chris throwing his axes, laughing in the air. He's having fun time in the lane. They're going to finally pick this up to reset on that blue. It's going to come up a little bit later than usual. But yep, we see now Nocturne heading towards that top.
Okay, there we go. So the first sort of gank coming in here. This is normally the time where you expect to see a 3-on-1 sort of tower dive. And in fact, you're seeing both junglers play the defensive role on that side. And in fact, they're going to go in on Lemon God.
Here it is. Lemon God getting taken down. The bottom has not ganked yet, and it's going to be a quick one. There goes a reckless swing, and it's going to be enough damage to take him out. First blood to Chris. Balls for the flash, the Peacemaker to answer. The second kill could come down for them as we flash down to bottom here. Balls does go down. Hazard now trying to help NK and get this kill. The resident or the Q missing, and they're able to pick up the kill. The turn now, and this is going to turn around perfectly for Dirtnap Gaming. They put themselves in the lead, a possible 4-1, and there it is.
Wow, would you look at that one. Beautiful play. Dirtnap Gaming buying just enough time. The Sonic Wave just missed from NK Inc. That would have been a kill and turned the fight around completely, but because Echo was alive, you look at his health bar practically full again. Profit the heals all
got
day.
That double buff too. That is going to be so hard for that bottom lane, especially for the 2v1 switch.
And meanwhile, you can see this mid lane, despite me calling it as a better lane for Jace, it's pretty much equal actually, 27 to 25 in minions. Arthalon, you know, right now I'm calling him the MVP of Meat Playground. He seems to be just on fire this whole time. He is keeping up in what I thought was going to be a really brutal lane.
And there we are, the 5-minute turret going down. We'll probably see the lane swap back to normal now. Caitlyn and Nunu will find themselves against Sona and Graves in just a few minutes, depending on how comfortable they feel in that lane. If they can keep pushing Cho'Gath out, I'm sure they'll stay.
Exactly. They want to go ahead and actually, at this point, if you're the double lane, you almost want to swap back and say, we got a turret kill. Yeah, switch that one right back on over. Go for the 2-on-2 there. The thing is, normally Nunu Kate's a kind of a brutal lane to deal with, but Graves is up 15 minions and extra assists, so he's actually ahead of Caitlyn. They hit 2-on-2 and win straight up.
They did a really great job with the ganks and also making that top one happen faster, especially with the counter gank. Nocturne was a little behind on his red as well, so to come out first, that's big for DNG, and they really set up that bottom gank to happen well, knowing where the jungler was. 4-1 now at 6 minutes into the game. That gold lead is actually quite significant already. It was a 1,000 gold lead for quite some time between Meat Playground and Falafel in that first game, but it's already about 2.3k ahead in favor of DNG. And we all know in these games that first 10 minutes can actually go in anybody's favor. After Balls taking a bit of damage there, looking for more harass, and we can see the poke coming in as he's called it, Freak. Lanes are back to normal up top.
And there we go. Well, it's back to normal, and except that it's, you know,
up top.
The 2-on-2 lane is actually in the top lane this time, so no team has much dragon pressure. Nice dodge there. Chris, though, he's still getting jumped on.
Oh, trying to be a bro. Chris trying to get out of this one. Undertoes backwards, but he leaves himself in the rupture for just enough time. They have a lot of stick, but it looks like he's going to... Oh, nope, never mind. Here comes Arthalon. Arthalon, if he has anything to say about it, helps, gets the assist, and they are able to take him down.
He comes right back out. That is X-Hazard being tanky enough to just survive the turret damage. You know, it's something you have to really think about there. Do you have enough health to tank a turret?
They're trying to go aggressive here and draw Balls, and Lemon got in a little bit more. Nocturne right behind, coming in with the paranoia. He's going to throw down the terror as well, and it looks like he may be able to pick up a double kill. The collateral damage and the double kill for JD Wu.
That was beautiful. Dirtnap Gaming, I was like so sure Sona was in like the worst shape of her life, getting poked by Caitlyn, but it was a bait for Nocturne.
Yeah, they're really playing the mentality of this game so well right now. Going ahead 2 minutes and 14 seconds later, they are looking to take down top turret.
This is just all-out aggressive pushing. This is exactly what they wanted to do. Early to mid-game pressure. Well, I didn't say early game pressure, but it turns out their lanes won really hard. But getting a lot of early turret pressure, making all the mid-game moves, and I want to point out really good communication right there. They had the turret to half, they had minion waves, and they backed off because, guys, jungler mid's MIA.
Yeah, no vision.
Exactly.
Super no vision. Everybody was coming out of base. Great call on that. Prolly returning to his lane. Let's go across the board here. 54 to 40. He's up by 14. Like you said, it's going to help him out a little bit, but the lane's still even. Eve does have that, the assist on her kill, so that's going to pick up a few more CS in numbers, if you will.
Yeah, it probably is up in gold a little bit. We had that on your screen just a second ago. You know, you really got to say, Dirtnap Gaming has the early game lead. You can't, you know, say anything else about it. But the late game scaling is eventually going to be there here for Meat Playground.
X-Hazard again forced back, just trying to use his abilities to really farm right now. 6-2 in this game. Very aggressive play by DNG here as they switch the lanes back. They're not going as hard on that turret. They did prep it a little bit, Freak, if they ever want to take it down, take a dragon, or lose a fight. So they're kind of giving themselves a lot of options and openings to do things here.
That's absolutely true, and you're seeing actually the jungles go back to their respective teams as well. Arthlon just getting the golem buff, running himself back to lane, probably actually making his own roam move here. He might just go for the Wraith Steal, but he actually might go for a gank. They did set up that top lane to start pushing down. If you look at the minions, it's actually going to start going down toward Dirtnap's turret, which will leave Caitlyn available. And there we go, they're going for the push.
Crescendo comes in. Oh my god, absolutely obliterated. Lemon God, the second to go. Do they have what it takes? His blood boils on. It could get him out just in time. The power cord leaves him with about 50 HP, and they are going to have to back off. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, 7-2 here, Dirtnap Gaming versus Meat Playground. Freak, a great game so far.
All right, and we just got word that One Trick Ponies came through on that one, so whether you were on stream A the whole time, the winner here, once again, the winner of this game is moving through. Actually, Arthlon taking some punishment in mid, just making sure that's all okay. So once again, the winner here is coming out of the group, joining Fear and everyone else.
Oh, Chris getting taken down bottom. This will be the second time he was dove. If he can make it out of this one alive, it's going to be a lot better of a situation, and that does not suck. He gets a kill for himself. X-Hazard, however, picks up the retribution.
There we go, but you can just see how fearsome Chris is, and imagine him on Riven, his best champion.
Oh my gosh.
You already see him, you know, only 19 minions, had like the worst 1v2 of his life, and is still coming out, turning up kills in these battles.
He's having a pool party down there by himself. Probably just trying to push out this mid and continue to roam. That, like we said, that change of phase for him, just give him that movement speed, and he can go from lane to lane. Another turret being taken down here. They have wiped all 3 outer turrets in 10 minutes.
That is a beautiful situation there. This is just everything Dirtnap Gaming wants, and this is really where their composition comes into full swing. They've all got their ultimates now. The cooldowns, except for, I mean, you've got a little bit of time left on Prophet, but for the most part, their cooldowns are about to come all back up in their ultimates. This could be theirs pretty cleanly. The rest of this mid-game push is pretty much theirs, I think.
That was great, a great read there. They backed off of the dragon. They didn't have time to pull out enough, and they have quite low mana bars here. JD Wu does have smite up, so if they try to get a quick attempt on anything that goes down here, he'll be able to help, but it looks like they will both back off. Freak, these teams now know that the fighting phase is coming into fruition. People are going to be taking each other out quite quickly. We just saw Graves take someone out in 0.5 seconds, and here's the dive right here onto JD Wu. They get him down to half health, taking advantage of that low mana bar, and you can just see what is driving their bloodthirst.
Yeah, well, they need to do something here, Meat Playground, to kind of stabilize this game. If they can kind of draw attention different places on the map, and kind of, especially if they do these battles where like Nocturne doesn't have mana and some of the spells are down, they had a little bit of window without Crescendo up, you know, they have to do Meat Playground can't just be passive here in the mid game, basically. That they are aware that they're behind a little bit, that they want to get, you know, Evelyn to a situation where she can roam or get to the point where Caitlyn has real items. But right now, 11 minutes in, you know, with only a Vamp Scepter on Caitlyn, they need to distract. They need to get the enemy team away from their turrets.
And we need to see more wards from Meat Playground right now. After the laning phase, Nocturne becomes even scarier. You see him even less, so you do not know where he is. Right now, Meat Playground has 0 offensive wards, and there are 3 offensive wards from Dirtnap Gaming in their jungle. So the wards that do have to be placed are extra far away because of that Nocturne gank. And here it is, NK Inc. coming in, trying to get that aggression down with the Resonating Strike. Looks like he has to back off there. Very low here, the poke now to come out from Dirtnap Gaming. I don't know why they would try to go for that dragon. They throw down the Paranoia. They go right onto Balls. They know they can't save the AD carry. They quickly drop Lee Sin, and it is going to be a quick turnaround here. Hazard doing quite a bit of damage. Balls left on the outside to just attack all away. Probably finds the kill at Blue onto Eve, and it looks like they'll be able to clean this one up, Freak. Here comes Probably from the backside, and they repinch onto the fight. Should be a dragon.
Well, that was a really, really nice battle there. 4 for nothing completely. And you just saw the explosive damage. Lee Sin was already low. And Nocturne actually, despite stepping onto a trap, he paranoid to Caitlyn, and then from that location landed Dustbringer onto Lee Sin. That was how he got the kill off. That was a really, really nice play. And that was just a sort of a cleanup crew fight where no one was healthy enough to kind of deal with that situation. Again, Dirtnap up in gold quite a lot. It was a very good fight for them.
Yeah, super ultimate there, forcing Lee Sin with 100 health to safeguard in. You know, not something you want to make him do, but he had to, and almost came up with something. 12-3, 13 minutes into the game, and Dirtnap Gaming Freak is making this look quite definitive. They've come out very strong. The AD composition, just with that AD being cheaper, these guys are taking advantage.
Exactly. It's one of the big changes of Season 3 was basically refactoring what different stats cost in the game. Attack speed became more expensive, attack damage became cheaper, and armor and matrixes became more expensive. So being a pure damage source improved you, and especially if you were attack damage ability based. AD carries, people like Caitlyn and Graves, they were kind of more or less left the same because yeah, attack speed got worse, but so did armor, and attack damage got better. It kind of washes out. But guys like Olaf, guys like Nocturne, guys like Jace, they got a better situation out of it.
We'll see the Bloodthirster being the favorite item right now for DNG. None of those Black Cleavers even being built towards, and we have the Phage being built onto Nocturne. So these guys are looking to keep the fights in their realm. They know they have a lot of chase to deal with here. There's a lot of fight disengage coming from Meat Playground and the Rupture, the Silence, the Caliber Net, and Lemon God doing whatever he can to slow the team. So I like the chase that DNG is putting on their team, or rather the slows.
Absolutely. This is a team that is very much about, yeah, we can do some initial damage, but you have to make sure you can follow up. That is very, very important. You know, since none of them are like Evelynn or Katarina or Kha'Zix, where they get a kill and they just get closer to you as a result because their cooldowns come back. They need a way to actually chase you down, and you know, making that happen is really, really important.
Great poke damage, and this is where, Freak, you said that mid-game, the poke damage comes into fruition for them. They're more than happy to fight an explosion at 6, an explosion at 11, and they're actually, quite a few of them just about to hit that level 11 as well. We do have 94 CS to Caitlyn's 107, so we have seen balls kind of come back on top in that factor, and like you said, if they play the clock right, they get Caitlyn to late game, that's where it's going to help.
She's starting to crest there a little bit. Certainly she's behind Graves, but going for that Infinity Edge is a very important pickup. But they're onto the turret. This pressure will not give up.
The undertow continuously thrown through the gate. The shock blast exploding onto Meat Playground. And then you can see that poke. Jace doesn't even have a brutalizer on him yet. Looks like he is going for one, or possibly quickly for the last Whisper to leave someone else to buy the cleaver and stack that armor pen. We'll have to see what the builds are. They feel fully in control. You see their play, it's calm, it's collected, and they're not trying to do anything that's going to put them in a dangerous spot. This could be one of those, though. JD Wu staying in. They're not tanking the turret quite yet. He missed that Duskbringer, which kind of helped them in that situation, but continuous pressure.
Exactly. This is the name of the game for this team. It's just pressure, and if they go in, they have very good counter engagement, right? If Meat Playground dives in, they have Sona's Crescendo. They have a face full of Buckshot from Graves, and honestly, they can always just run through that Jace gate as well. It is going to be very hard to pin down DirtNap Gaming.
You see them still trying to turn and poke here. They see what the wards are giving them. There are 0 wards for Meat Playground in their own jungle right now. The 3 offensive wards have just grabbed DirtNap. Another kill, a solo for the 5.
That was great overall. It's 13-3 now, and I mean, they could think about Baron. I mean, theoretically, it's up and they have map control, but they don't need to risk anything like that. They honestly are just going to play the same game over and over again. They've got a push team, and they are ahead, so they should keep pushing.
And they're even pink warding mid lane. They're giving themselves every advantage. Every door is open to move to the next step that is going to better their game right now. 27,000 to 18.6. Ink trying to put down a little bit of harass. He does find Echo alone. A beautiful split here on DNG. It looks like one may go down. Prophet throws out the Crescendo, so he loses the ultimate. You're going to see Chris come in here, so the ultimate wasted. Nobody could go down. Prophet will not go down. Yes, he does. Back and forth. They're trying to save each other, and this could be scary. If DNG thinks that one can save after the other, they're going to continuously fall. That may happen. No, Chris keeps himself alive. There's way too much damage from collateral damage. It's Prowly. They come into the fight to start cleaning up, and MP has to turn tide here. X-Hazard says, we can do this. His balls gets taken down to about 10% HP. Ink is running with a sliver of health. JD Wu capitalizing on that kill, and these fights are all across the map right now. X-Hazard finding himself in a pretty sore position. He will be bursted down here, Freak, and Meat Playground looked very strong on that. Could get over this. No, he's going to try to get some Baron to do damage. Baron will take him out, unfortunately. You can see the smile on his face there.
That was a nice attempted bait, though. Oh my gosh, Evelynn just shows up, gets 500 gold, does get the assist for it. Nice play, Arthalon. But that was actually a really smart move by Hazard, because 3 of the 4 remaining members of that team could not chase into the Baron pit. Graves, and I believe Olaf and Jace were all too low to walk into Baron and survive a counterattack from Baron Nashor himself. So it had to beat, okay, let Nocturne go for it. okay, yeah, Baron walk out. And that was very well orchestrated there by Dirtnap Gaming.
Sweet fight. I was really scared for a second. I thought it was going to be the I think I can mentality. I think I can save this person. Oh, shit,
yeah.
We lost him. I think I can save this person. Oh, we lost them. But Chris got out somehow. He was doing it with Shen last game. It's like watching Dyrus covered in oil. Just slips out of every situation.
Just what, lathered Crisco on him and just like, no, can't catch me.
I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch
Gingerbread
Dyrus
man.
covered in oil.
Wow. Yeah, so Chris being the gingerbread man, no one could catch him. The food puns are going to keep coming, man, I'm telling you. Meat Playground looking for a tasty treat, couldn't quite get it. But 16-5, man, Dirtnap Gaming, like, just over and over, they just need to keep pushing. That's all they need to do.
So the gold lead now 9,000 by Dirtnap Gaming. 5 turrets to 0. They are playing a true game of turret defense right now. 19 minutes into the game. We said it was 16-5. And that demanding lead is 7 kills to Graves right now. Echo doing such an amazing job for his team with 5 going on to Nocturne as well, which helps even more because one of your biggest, tankiest initiators can take that fight to himself.
Absolutely, man. Like, this lineup is honestly tanky enough that they're pretty much able to deal with most situations. That, you know, this Dirtnap Gaming squad can come up and actually just take down X-Hazard as a group if they need to, and if someone gets jumped on, they have pretty good tools for getting away and not losing someone important.
Here we go. Just complete control of the jungle, slowly biding their time. Not fixing it if it isn't broken. Like we said, they're not putting themselves in the dangerous situation. They're not trying to dive past inhibitors. Clear-cut wins are the way that Dirtnap Gaming wants to go here. And it looks like we're going to have a quick clear mid, and if not a push down mid, a Baron focus.
Okay, well, here we go. Frawley leading the charge. This is going to be theirs. Once again, Baron just... I don't think it's on the plate here for Dirtnap Gaming. When you're head this far, you don't secure it by getting Baron. You secure it by pushing the base.
Exactly.
Frawley moving in. They see everyone else here. Hazard coming from the back.
Looks like they will get pushed out. The Rupture goes down, but Cho'Gath trying to make it in the base will take a good amount of poke. The Bloodthirst rises now for DNG. They see those low health bars. Eve just on the outside, trying to clear out the minions. Not the worst siege stopping capabilities from Meat Playground, but they do have to get themselves out there for poke, which is a disadvantage.
Exactly. The engagement range for Frawley here is much, much larger than any other ability outside of Caitlyn's ultimate on Meat Playground. So anytime they wave clear, Frawley has a chance at damage.
They're just milling on this front step right here. That one trap is there. The person to land, and that could have a sorry day. It's going to be JD Wu. Will they focus it? No, he takes it and walks out. They know they can't even aggress onto a crowd control straight under their turret.
But I got to hand it to Dirtnap Gaming, though. Yeah, they do not want to dive on a turret here. Exactly what you just said. Like, the patience there and the... Not patience, but the word for regimen, like being able to control yourself properly, fill in the blank, whatever the word you're looking for. But, you know, being able to be reserved and say, no, we don't need to dive this. We know we're going to win. If we play it smart and don't get reckless, that's what happens here. Now, Meat Playground, they've got one ace in the hole. Well, they've got 2. One of them literally has the ability ace in the hole, and that's Caitlyn, and the other one is Evelynn. Evelynn, no matter how bad this starts, she's going to scale through this game. She's going to be a big asset here. Arthalon is always going to be relevant, no matter the situation. Balls is having a pretty good game as well.
Arthalon almost getting caught out. Balls forced to have to walk away from that situation. The Terror is down, and it only took a few hits once Prowley and Echo got there. And you will see these two continuously tearing through the fight. 7, 1, and 5, 5, 0, and 6. Jason Graves completely carrying this game for Dirtnap.
And that is an absolutely great situation to be in because they do scale so very, very well. Both of them can play ranged AD carry style. You've got Bloodthirster and a Phantom Dancer together on Graves. He's going to be putting out so much damage, and you do not yet have a completed item. Caitlyn is about 1,000, no, actually only about 300 gold away from Infinity Edge. It's very close to the time where she's really useful.
There's the turret down. Jason blue buff, so he is continuously poking out, and they choose to back. They really don't even have that much of their jungle to grab or anything. This is kind of a stalemate until that next objective. Slow but sure is going to win the race for Dirtnap Gaming here. 22 minutes in, and we do see that gold on the screen. A lot of 8,000 to 8,000 gold for both Nocturne and Graves themselves. Jace just behind that at 7,000 gold as well. These guys, 6,000. 6,000 is the closest coming from Balls on the other team, so they are quite behind. 10,000 altogether, Freak. This is bad news Bears.
It is bad news Bears. That apparently bear shirt or hat you think he's wearing, I still think it's a Wolfman, but It is bad news, you know.
Yeah.
It's a scary situation. Once again, you know, all I can say is it is Meat Playground's time to just get themselves to late game status. Evelyn and Caitlin need to just put in the backpacks, throw everyone inside of them, and just trek uphill and make those games happen. We've seen late game comebacks happen. It is absolutely a possibility. A misstep would be nice, but if they can wait long enough for Caitlin to be a superpower, that's what they need. She's got Infinity Edge. It's their first time.
Finally getting back to base. I don't see the upgrade for Home Guard anywhere, so it's going to make it even harder for them once this poke damage comes through to get themselves to the fountain and come back. That's one of those situations that can many times get yourself killed when you want to get that last shot in. Somebody is just watching you out of the corner of their eyeballs very close up front. They can get poke onto Lee Sin. Once again, they'll probably paranoia onto Caitlin. We see Balls having to back up. See that? They go straight for the inhibitor damage.
And it's going to be theirs. I mean, they're just using the AD carries to sit in the background. You're going to see both Jace, or all three really, Jace, Sona, and Graves. Their job is hitting structures every time there's a possibility for it. You tend to not want your melee champions in range there. You don't want to ever risk a bad engage, and you're kind of seeing them dance back and forth. JD Wu's kind of around there. Chris is poking a little bit, but they're mostly relying on the range champions just for damage output from a safer location. That's the right way to do it.
This is where it's coming in so hard for you. This is the thing I poked at in the beginning. Actually, they're going in quite hard on this onto Nunu. They're going to be able to back off, but what I was saying is that one push right before they took down the inhibitor there, it looked like Meat Playground was just going to rupture, go in, and start their ultis. But they all have to get close. Nunu would have to walk into the damage. They all have to get close to do what they want and just pretty much all in. It's making it very hard.
It is very, very difficult overall. There's just such great control here from Dirtnap Gaming. They're playing from the optimal range. They're not playing too aggro. And it's actually a fine line to tread, because on one side, you want to make sure you can actually close the game out. We nearly saw that in Epic, in our second match of the day. It was Epic against Team Tower Dive TV, where Tower Dive TV had a huge advantage 25 minutes in and nearly threw the game away. And you have to make sure you don't do that either.
Oh man, there's the absolute zero going off. He threw it and got knocked, or just actually turned it off. I think he thought they might have been coming in. A very good engage here. The crescendo goes down, but there's a lot of focus onto just Prolly and Sona. Looks like they're going to be able to back up here. They take down the AD carry. This is all between Chris and JD Wu here. There's going to be a lot of damage. Ink goes down trying to chase his team. A beautiful collapse from Dirtnap Gaming. They stop Baron as well as continue the chase, and this is why they have those abilities. Unfortunately, Olaf is down. They get the terror down that's necessary to drop X Hazard. They go 5 for 2, or 5 for 0, 1 for 3, I should say.
There we go.
But that was an amazing. There's numbers in there somewhere.
There are. I think if you added and subtracted together, you would get the numbers.
I was looking for it.
Yeah, you got it. It's fine.
Yeah. Just wow.
Perfect. But anyway, the fight went amazingly. Chris did sacrifice himself for that battle, but at this point, the jungler is down. There's no flash on Nunu, so I don't even see a chance at a steal here. Meat Playground not in a good place to get this Baron. Dirtnap Gaming for the first time. This is the right time to go for Baron. 4v2, it's a possibility here for Meat Playground, but I don't see this fight going well.
So here we see Meat Playground just trying to poke at them with the poke they don't have. That short-range team is not going to be able to do anything to deter a Baron attempt, and Dirtnap Gaming just picks up a huge lead. They're going to be looking at 41,000 gold to 29,000. 20-6 here. 26 minutes into the game. We've had a kill a minute. Thanks for making it interesting, guys.
Absolutely, and these guys are just putting on such a wonderful show as well. At first glance, DNG's lineup looked a little bit ragtag, right? You know, no one's a really hardcore poke champion that isn't Jace.
Yeah.
You know, they banned Needly, and they're like, no, it's a poke comp, but it's a poke comp without Needly, and it's a poke comp without, like, Janna or, like, disengaged tools, right? But it was like, well, we're going to rely on Undertow and Shock Blast. Okay. We're going to run Graves. Huh? But it's working, right? They're getting the right battles. They've got a super fed AD carry, which works with any comp, to be fair, but they're getting just the right amount of poke. They're getting people off their turrets and then following up with good damage. You know, it looked a little bit sketchy in Champion Select, but they're making it work completely. Dirtnap Gaming, honestly, they are 2 minutes of perfect play away from making it into that quarterfinal.
Indeed they are. We've had a lot of amazing matches going on today, all with very high kills, just like the one we're looking at now. These teams have just formulated strats to understand where to place the aggression at the perfect time in the game. The lane swap, as we take it back and just figure out what happened to this, as Ink kind of takes some harassment here as he goes in. He may even be dove under the turret here. That Shock Blast missing, but they're not going to care. No, they decide to back off. But yeah, the beginning of this match, it was a swap, there was a steal, and the swap ultimately went in favor of Dirtnap Gaming. It really escalated it from that 3rd, 4th minute in the game.
And the funny thing is, look at Chris. He's got 46 minion kills. he has probably got less gold than anyone else on his team, and it just does not matter.
Yeah, he has 46. We actually saw this happen to Shen Zin lane in that first game that actually hurt Zin, but somehow Chris is making it through on this one. He's got himself the Glacial Shroud, and he went health to stop the burst that can come from this Meat Playground team, and he's mitigated it perfectly. You see them trying to go on this turret again, and Freak, as you said before, that peace of mind to not push yourself over the edge.
This is actually really important there, because right now they just blew Arthalon's ultimate. Evelyn, the big burst tool, it's down, and now it's time for the sustain. They've got Baron buff and Sona, and Dirtnap Gaming is pretty healthy again.
They're looking, JD Wu is just looking to get that terror on somebody. Tether him down with the fear. The rupture goes out. Chris takes that happily. Probably will be right there taking some damage. It looks like X Hazard wanted that, but the team called it back. So even Meat Playground communicating very quickly right now.
Oh man, the poke once again, its ball's getting dropped below half health, and that is not the best place for them. The inhibitor, they're going for it. A couple attacks to go, and that's now 2 inhibitors down.
There's the crescendo going out. Do they try to capitalize? No, it's just going to be to disengage on this one. They've been partying at the front door of Meat Playground's base for the last 9 minutes, besides the Baron that they had to go and grab, and they're going to continue to do it after pushing this bottom wave. Dirtnap Gaming using the AD carry composition to their full potential, really just piercing through any armor that Meat Playground's trying to build now. It's just a little too late.
Yeah, and now with that inhibitor in the middle respawning, they're just going to go for it right away. NK Inc is there, but he only tags Chris. He actually stands there and laughs in the face of Cho'Gath and refuses to give a single care this game.
No, there they go, continuously pushing in Freak. I really like what Jason Graves did. Prolly and Echo both building Last Whispers on top of the Black Cleaver from Nocturne to Dustbringer the team, and then give those guys that stack of armor penetration. So they've chosen to itemize in that direction.
It's a really, really smart choice overall. They're dealing with a potential armor stack.
And there it is, the dive in coming from Nocturne. Prolly able to get a killing spree. Arthalon forced to flash out of the fight, and all of the summoners are used defensively for Meat Playground to save themselves. That is not going to win you the fight. Another kill coming up for Echo, trying to make it out alive. Blows the exhaust as well and makes it just out of the Absolute Zero. I think he flashed just for caution, but he was out. And they are going to take down the inhibitor for what looks like a definitive final push, Freak.
And here we go, the last of the minions falling down. 3 inhibitors are gone. It's just a Caitlyn alone. She has good damage, but at this point, I don't think it's going to be enough. Drop below half health, exhausted. This is going to be theirs. Dirtnap Gaming, beautiful play by them.
And there you go, Meat Playground does find themselves in that elimination position. The last Nexus turret goes down, an ace in the hole to solidify a kill for himself as the game comes to an end. They are focusing right down on the inhibitor, and there you see, it is going to be Dirtnap Gaming coming up with a win as they go 2-1.
That was absolutely
2-0.
2-0. 2-0 is the score.
Yes.
These guys with an immaculate record here. Very, very good job. One of the teams coming through, not the online ladder qualifiers, but the MLG IPL bracket qualifiers there, those sort of pre-qualified tournaments. They made it there. They took down one of the heavy favorites of Meat Playground. I don't think most people would have predicted the match to go this way.
I did not predict it to go that way. I thought it was going to be a quick, they're just building armor. We can easily mitigate against this. But it was. You were right, on the late game team comp that they had to get to. Caitlyn didn't have enough damage. She had the Infinity Edge and the Blood Boil, but neither her and Nunu could stay alive long enough to take effect.
Exactly. What you saw in that last push where they went for the right-hand side turret and inhibitor, Nocturne dove in on Arthalon, and he got the kill on Evelyn, and then he did fall to Nunu Kate. That guy did die, but the problem is the rest of that team didn't have the tools to make anything else work. You saw them kind of just languishing around. Hazard got broken down, the jungler got killed, NK Inc., and there just wasn't anything left for them. They just had a Caitlyn who was alive and a Nunu blood boiling her, and absolute zero for defense, and that's great, but they had nothing left to do anything with that. And it was just a 4 versus 2. Right. The fight went so well, and the thing is, you mentioned the armor stack case, and that's a very, very true thing. You stack armor and health, and it becomes much more difficult to play a physical heavy team. But because they were up in gold, you actually mentioned the builds: the 2 Last Whispers, the Black Cleaver on Nocturne. Any armor you build is gonna get shredded right off. It's gonna be reduced by about half, maybe even a little bit more. And then, well, what's left for you? Right? What's left for you there when half your armor's shredded off, and then, well, they've still got attack damage.
So do you think these 80 compositions can continue to go on, or do you think it's kind of one of the things that a team didn't expect and doesn't have the counter to because of what they banned and picked themselves?
I think it's just a it's just another composition that's available. Absolutely. Double AD can absolutely work. Double AP worked all the time in Season 2. Mass bruisers have been done before. All these things kind of work. We've actually got a replay of one of those big team fights to show you, once again, what it took to be awesome like DirtNap Gaming. You can see here they're up in the Baron. The Absolute Zero was used for damage on Baron, but he sort of realized his mistake a little bit too late. There's probably getting caught up. This is a very good opener. There's the kind of engage you want there when you're Meat Playground. The problem is they don't have the gold. The dive from Nocturne, I mean, literally just like 1v5ing onto balls and makes it happen. Who cares if Chris goes down at this point? They're just ahead by so much, and now it's cleanup crew. Watches probably finally gets enough mana for an acceleration gate. It's the only ability he has left, but he's like, oh, the only thing I need to do is make my team chase. That's fine. That's all we need. And they just dive right on in and pick up the last couple of kills.
You know, amazing play, and just like we kept saying, peace of mind by these guys to not do crazy stuff, know that they could just push that Baron. Things were down. They played very smart the entire game.
It was absolutely the amount of self-control was so important to that team. And, you know, getting that balance between knowing how to end a game and knowing how to not throw a game is really, really important. It's something that new teams typically have a very hard time with, right? Again, we saw that with Team Tower Dive TV versus Epic, where they had that game at 20 minutes and they didn't know how to finish it. These guys, they kept the pressure on without being too aggressive. That's a really important thing to keep in mind.
It really was. Yeah, at some point I got to shake Chris's hand for somehow making it through an Olaf game with 50 CS in top. Yeah, and a 2v1.
And he still felt tanky.
Yeah.
I was like,
exactly.
Yeah, like he wasn't actually dying, and I was like, that's 50 minion kill Olaf.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, the most important game of these guys' lives is going to be coming up next, the final round of deciding match of Group B. We'll be right back. Stay with us.